everyone, thank you for joining us today for another webinar in our Market Access and International Approvals webinar series. My name is Crystal and I'm part of the Certification and Approvals technical staff here at Risk Compliance Laboratories. Today we will be presenting to you the Certification and Approvals regulations as well as the technical requirements for electrical equipment, electronics, and wireless product and device approvals within Russia. We will be going over Russian market access for electronics and electrical products, names used, EAC, CU, or TR-CU technical regulations of the Customs Union, now known as Eurasian Economic Union, EU as of 2016, and includes 5 countries: Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. The FAC is the Federal Agency of Communications. We will also go over FSB/FSS, Federal Security Service Notification, and certain products within wireless equipment devices with encryption algorithms, cryptographic functions will require this. You may have heard of our recognized GOST approval and GOSTR marking, which was withdrawn in February of 2013, but still exists for some products not covered under TR, such as batteries. There is also RFC for high-frequency RF devices, which we won't go into too much detail here today. If you have any questions on the topics presented today, or any other immediate questions regarding compliance testing and product certification, you may reach us at info@vista-compliance.com. Without further ado, let's begin the presentation. Starting with an overview of the major conformity assessment authorities in the EU and Russia, Eurasian Economic Commission, EEC, formerly known as Eurasian Customs Union Commission, publishes technical regulations, are responsible for the list of standards applicable for regulations and certification and declaration schemes to approve equipment and goods within Eurasian countries. EAC, CU, TR-CU are common names for Russian Eurasian conformity pertaining to the EMC safety and ROHS. FAC/Telecom Certification and Declaration System is a part of Russian national regulation, so it's on the national level. FAC regulation is applicable for the Russian territory only for selling and operation of telecommunications equipment. FAC regulation has nothing to do with EAEU, CUTR safety, and EMC, or any other regulation, and has only to do with telecom and radio. FSS/FSB notification is a notification from the manufacturer for devices with encryptions and cryptographic functionality, and there are other assessment schemes. GOST approval and GOSTR marking was withdrawn in February of 2013, but still exists for some products not covered under TR, such as batteries. Radio frequency conclusion, RFC, for high-frequency RF devices, such as microwaves. Moving forward, starting with EAC, Eurasian conformity. EAC is a product marking, which means Eurasian conformity. It shows approval for products imported to the Customs Union, aka Eurasian Customs Union, CU. This marking provides access to Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan, allowing suppliers to distribute products throughout the entire territories of these countries. This marking is applicable in all industries, such as automotive, chemical sector, food market, plus many other fields. But today we are focusing on the EMC and electrical safety field, plus many more. EAC approval is a singular harmonized approval certificate for EMC and or safety for certain products, which means that it will cover multiple requirements such as nuclear safety. It covers all member states in the Union. Supply products must conform to the requirements of the Customs Union technical regulations, currently Eurasian Economic Union, TRCU, TREAEU, in order to apply this mark. Almost any product to import to Russia requires the TR-CU certification and mark, and the mark helps provide assurance of product compliance with existing safety, technical, and quality standards. Electrical products must meet technical requirements of the EAEU to be placed on the Russian market. The EAEU technical regulations TR-CU and TR-EAEU contains mandatory requirements for EMC and safety aspects. The requirements of the EAEU technical requirements can be met through conforming with TRs through the application of relevant standards. This is a non-exhaustive list. The technical regulations particularly relevant to electrical products are highlighted. Now let's go over the standards listed here. Technical regulations of the Customs Union TRCU/TREAEU. On safety of machinery and equipment, TRCU 010/2011. On safety of the equipment operating under excessive pressure, TRCU 032/2013. On safety of the equipment for operations in explosive atmospheres, TRCU 012/2011. Electromagnetic compatibility of technical equipment, TRCU 020/2011. On safety of devices operating on the gaseous fuel, TRCU 016/2011. On safety of personal protective equipment, TRCU 019/2011. On safety of low voltage equipment, TRCU 004/2011. On safety for wheeled vehicles, TRCU 018/2011. On safety of agricultural and forestry tractors and their trailers, TRCU 031/2012. On the safety of chemical products, TRCU 041/2017. On restrictions of the use of hazardous substance in electrical equipment and electronics, TRCU 037/2016. On requirements for lubricants, oils, and special fluids, TRCU 030/2012. On safety of light industry products, TRCU 017/2011. Now here's an overview of the different EAC approval schemes. TRCU Certificate of Conformity and TRCU Declaration of Conformity DOC. The main difference between them is that when declaring, the manufacturer conducts the test himself, applying for this to a testing laboratory accredited by the Federal Accreditation Services, and on the basis of the results obtained by test reports, he registers a Declaration of Conformity of the means of communications with the Federal Agency Communication. During certification, the issuance of a Certificate of Conformity registered by the Federal Communications Agency CCC certificate, Ministry of Communications certificate is carried out by a certification body, which in turn enters into a test agreement with a testing laboratory and, based on the test results, makes a decision on issuing or not issuing a certificate of conformity. Product types determine whether the applicable schemes is COC or DOC. The biggest difference in the process between COC and DOC is that COC requires factory inspection and CU specific inspection report. Important to note that COC and DOC conforming to TRCU and TR is different. Russia has its own technical regulations, TR, which are only applicable to Russia, while TRCU is for the whole of EAEU. Some of the products that are regulated under the EAC include information technology equipment, ITE, audio video equipment, household appliances, wireless and wired telecommunications equipment, scientific instrumentation and measurement equipment, medical equipment. In Russia, the former GOST certificate system was withdrawn on February 15, 2023, and replaced by the new Customs Union (CU) regime. Existing certificates issued prior to February 15, 2013, including GOST, are no longer valid. Now let's determine if EMC and/or LVE equipment requirements are applicable. All electronic products must adhere to EMC requirements. The most common group of products that are exported to the Eurasian Economic Union are devices that work on a nominal voltage of 50 volts AC through 1000 volts AC inclusively, or of 70 volts DC through 1500 volts DC inclusively. Then the LBE, low voltage equipment, and RHS, restriction of hazardous equipment substances requirements, are applicable. The next step is to determine if a certification is mandatory for the equipment based on product type, electrical parameters, HS code, radio standards, telecom standards that apply. The procedure depends on the product type. If the certificate of conformity is required, then the approval can be finalized only after production site audit for quality management system review and test of samples in the accredited certification laboratory on the territory of EAEU. EAC DOC process consists of testing, collecting test reports, documentation requirements, user manual in Russia, product specs, description, local certificate holder in Russia, etc. The process can be made only with the help of authorized representative for certification, a resident company from EAEU. This company bears responsibility for the quality of the product on the base of local representative agreement. It can be the importer, distributor of the product, or any other company located in the CU that will agree to act as a local representative. EAC COC processes consist of processes such as factory inspection, testing samples, collecting test reports, documentation, product specs, descriptions, and annual factory inspections. Usually, TRCU 020 EMC is to be accompanied by TRCU 004 LVD. This means that one approval document can include both regulations. TRCU declaration or certification of conformity is required for customs clearance. So what are the products regulated under the EMC technical regulations of the EAEU? Here's a short list based on the TRCU 020/2011 Electromagnetic Compatibility of Technical Equipment EMC. Certification of conformity includes devices such as household electronic apparatuses and appliances, personal electronic computers and peripherals, electrical tools, musical instruments, and many more. Declaration of conformity includes products not covered under certification of conformity, industrial electrical products. Exempt products include wires, cords, cables, light bulbs, and induction motors. Usually EMC technical regulations are also accompanied by the low voltage equipment technical regulations, so one approval document can cover both of these. Next, we'll be moving on to a low voltage equipment. A European analog, electromagnetic compatibility EMC 2014/30/EU. Eurasian Economic Union EAEU, formerly known as Customs Union CU, certification system assumes special technical regulations that guarantees the sustainable work of electronics that are to be imported to the EAEU countries. Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. It is aimed at confirming that all imported devices cannot create unwanted effects. Electromagnetic interference (EMI) on other electronic devices, and also that these devices cannot be affected by other electronic means and can work correctly in a common electromagnetic environment. Technical regulations of the EAEU on electromagnetic compatibility of technical devices TR 020/2011 came into force on February 15, 2013. Household appliances and personal electronic computers peripherals. This product group includes kitchen electronic devices such as refrigerators, electric ovens, kettles, dishwashers, mixers, blenders, microwave ovens, etc. Climate appliances such as air conditioners, vaporizers, fans, kitchen hoods, radiators, heaters, converters, floor heating cables, personal beauty devices, hair dryers, electric shavers, trimmers, hairstyling straighteners, electric rollers, and toothbrushes and massagers, etc. Cleaning products also include washing machines, vacuum cleaners, steam brushes, iron machines, steam cleaners, steam generators, as well as entertainment devices such as TVs, video game stations, audio and video players, laptops, personal computers, smartphones, etc., and so on. Most household devices must be approved in the form of a certification of conformity (CFC). Printers, monitors, scanners, uninterrupted power supplies, active speaker powered from AC, multimedia projectors, drills, perforators, screwdrivers, saws, scissors, and other tools, electric guitars, pianos, etc. Usually TRCU020 EMC is to be accompanied by TRCU004 LVD. This means that one approval document can include both regulations. The certificate of conformity can be issued only after the production site audits for quality management systems review and tests of samples in the accredited certification laboratory on the territory of EAEU. The process can be made only with the help of the authorized representative for certification, a residential company of EAEU. This company bears the responsibility for the quality of the product on the base of local representative agreements. It can be the importer, distributor of the product, or any other company located in the CU that will agree to act as a local representative. After all the procedures are done, the product can be marked with EAC mark. Exemption list: wires, cords, cables, and cable assemblies. Technical facilities containing only resistive loads and do not have automatic switching devices, such as household electrical heaters without thermostats or fans, electrical batteries, and connected light equipment without active electric circuits, headphones and speakers that are not functions of the gain, protective equipment creating transient electromagnetic interference of short durations by triggering a short circuit or an abnormal situation in the electrical circuit that does not include safety devices, emergency shutdown devices with active electronics, high voltage equipment in which potential sources of electromagnetic interferences cause only localized defects of isolation, for example, high voltage inductors, high voltage transformers, provided that the said product does not contain active electronic parts. Capacitors, such as those for power factor connection, induction motors, quartz watch without additional features such as radio, light bulbs, plugs, sockets, fuses, switches, circuit breakers without active electronic circuits, passive antenna for radio and television broadcasting. Let's take a look at LVE regulated products covered by TRCU 004 2011 on safety of low voltage equipment (LVE), certification of conformity, cables, wires, cords, electrical apparatuses, household equipment, electrical tools, personal electronic data processing machines, personal computers, LVE peripherals connected to data processing machines, lighting products, electrical musical instruments, devices for electric energy distribution, regulation control. Declaration of conformity covers products not under certification of conformity and industrial electrical products. Low voltage equipment is the widest group of products that are exported to the EAEU and most common electrical device that works within the EAEU. In general, regular technical regulations do not apply to explosive or environmental electrical equipment, medical devices, or other electrical equipment such as lifts and elevators. An European analog would be Low Voltage Directive (LVD) 2014/35/EU, the widest group of products that are exported to the Eurasian Economic Union (EAEU), formerly known as Customs Union (CU), is electrical devices that work at a nominal voltage of 50 VAC through 1000 VAC inclusively, or of 75 VDC through 1500 VDC inclusively. All countries of EAEU, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Kyrgyzstan, consider TRCU-004 on the safety of low voltage equipment and related GOST standards as main relative document for imported goods. Cables. Cables need to be certified according to the above mentioned technical regulation in order to obtain EAC mark, and being successfully exported to the Customs Union market, Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, and Armenia, for 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years at your convenience. Namely, the following cable types require the certificate of conformity: power cables with rubber insulation, uninsulated wires for the overhead lines, control cables with rubber or plastic insulation, multi-pole mounting cables with plastic insulation, instrumentation cables, cables for non-stationary laying, armored wire and cords, cables with polyvinyl chloride and rubber insulation. From the other hand, there is another kind of cable that are not subjected to TRCU 004/2011 on safety of low voltage equipment, such as electric cords intended for connection of receiver speaker amplifiers to sound reproduction equipment. Also in movable guide conditions, radio frequency cables, triboelectric sensor cables. Wiring products such as switches, including semiconductor types, timers, sockets, electrical outlets and plugs, splitters, adapters, and extension cords. Household electrical appliances. This product group includes kitchen electrical devices such as refrigerators, electric ovens, kettles, dishwashers, mixers, blenders, microwave ovens, etc., climate appliances, air conditioners, vaporizers, fans, kitchen hoods, radiators, heaters, convectors, floor heating cables, personal beauty devices such as hair dryers, electric shavers, trimmers, hair styling straighteners, electric rollers and toothbrushes, massagers, etc., cleaning products such as washing machines, vacuum cleaners, steam brushes, ironing machines, steam cleaners, steam generators, entertainment devices such as TVs, video game stations, audio and video players, laptops, personal computers, smartphones, etc., and so forth. Electrical devices which are to be connected to the personal computer such as printers, scanners, monitors, multimedia projectors, uninterruptible power supplies. Lamps and other lighting devices. When certifying lighting equipment, it is necessary to thoroughly analyze the technical description of the product in question. In most cases, the product range of every manufacturer includes different models of lamps with different mounting systems, purposes, and components. The following characteristics are to be considered when determining the type and a number of approvals. Types of lamps used in a device. It can be incandescent, luminescent, halogen, or LED, depending on the number of approvals and test reports is estimated. Second, ways of mounting of device. They can be placed on the wall, on the ceiling, or on the floor. It will also have an impact on the number of approvals, as some types of devices cannot be conferred by one certificate. Field application may also play a significant role. For example, if an LED lamp is used for lighting of operation surgery room, then a declaration of conformity is issued only after a medical registration is obtained. TRCU 004 LVD does not apply to electric equipment designed for operation in explosive atmospheres, medical devices, electrical equipment for lifts and elevators, except electrical machinery, electrical equipment for defense purposes, control equipment for grazing fences, electrical equipment designed for the use on air, water, ground, and underground transport, electrical equipment designed for safety systems of reactor units of atomic power stations. Here we have ROHS regulated products covered by TREA EU 037/2016 on restrictions on the use of hazardous substances in electrical products and electronics, ROHS. Declaration of conformity covers electrical apparatuses, household equipment, electronic computing machines and peripherals, telecom terminal devices, electrical tools, lighting equipment. Exempt products include electrical apparatuses intended for use at rated voltages below 1000 volts AC and 1500 volts DC, electronic toys, measuring instruments, medical devices. It came into operation on March 1st, 2018, and a European analog would be Restrictions of Hazardous Substances ROHS 2011/65/EU. The present technical regulations of the Eurasian Economic Union specifies requirements to use limitation of hazardous substances in electrical products and radio electronics released into circulations such as lead, mercury, cadmium, hexavalent chromium, polybrominated biphenyls, and polybrominated biphenyls, ethers, etc. Currently only following DOC procedures, but the Declaration of Conformity may be replaced by the Certification of Conformity on applicant's request. Electrical apparatus and household appliances cover such devices for the preparation and storage of food and the mechanization of kitchen work, for laundry, clothes, and footwear caring, including washing, ironing, drying, and cleaning, for room cleaning, for maintaining and controlling a microclimate inside the building, sanitary and hygienic, for skin, hair, and nail caring, for body warming, vibratory massage devices, gaming, sports, and gym equipment, audio and video devices, TV and radio receivers, for sewing and knitting, power supply units, chargers, voltage regulators, for gardening, for aquariums and garden ponds, electric pumps, electric and electronic watches, calculators, wiring accessories, gaugers, electronic computing machines and devices that are plugged into them, including devices combinations, servers, PC system units, laptops, tablets, pockets, handhelds, and other small-sized computers, keyboards, manipulators, trackers, and other input-output devices, mouse devices, gamepads, HMDs, glasses, removable storage drives, monitors, printers, scanners, acoustic systems and headphones, media projectors, biometric readers, webcams, modems, uninterrupted power supply units, electric communication means, terminal telecommunication devices, landline and cell phones, phone boxes, telefaxes, telexes, portable radio stations, radio frequency identification tags, copying machines and other electronic office equipment, electronic hand tools, hand and electric portable tools, light sources and lighting equipment including equipment embedded in furniture, electronic musical instruments, vending and game machines, cash machines, ATMs, cash registers, cables for use at rated voltages up to 500 volts DC or V volts AC, except fiber optic cables, automatic and safety switches, safety and fire alarms. Exempt list. Products of electrical engineering and radio electronics intended for use at rated voltages greater than 1000 volts AC and 1500 volts DC. Products of electrical engineering and radio electronics intended exclusively for use as component parts, electrical equipment not included in the list provided appendix number 1 to this technical regulation. Electronic toys. Photovoltaic panels, solar panels, incoming in the composition of products of electrical engineering and radio electronics. Electric equipment designed exclusively for use on air, water, land, and underground transport. Electric batteries and accumulators, including those produced in circulation on the territory of the Union as part of electrical products and radio electronics. Use electrical products and radio electronics, measuring instruments, medical devices. Please be aware that EA/EU TR 037/2016 requirements became mandatory as of March 1st, 2020. However, it doesn't mean that if you put your product to the EA/EU market prior to the state, you don't need to show the compliance to this regulation after March 1st, 2020. On the contrary, it doesn't matter when you put the product to the EA/EU market starting from March 1st, 2020, you should have EA/EU DOC against ROHS requirements anyways. In case of violation, the penalty is implemented. Now let's go over the Declaration of Conformity. Some basic requirements would be a CB test report with CB certificate, CE EMC reports, application forms, technical descriptions, user manual in the Russian language, draft label with necessary marking requirements, ISO 9001 certificate, report of factory inspection. Other requirements, local representative, lead time 2 to 4 weeks depending on the complexity of your device. Validity 1 to 5 years, period of validity of approval decided by applicants. Responsibilities, provides copies of the TRCU Declaration of Conformity when products are imported into Russia. This is mandatory for customs. Family model grouping is allowed. Product modifications, any addition to products requires new approval. Minor changes do not require, such as color change. Non-compliance, import is not allowed. Penalty in case of sale. Russian is the most widely used language, but for shipment to Kazakhstan or Belarus, a manual translated into the respective local language must be included. There is strict market surveillance to confirm that this requirement is being met. Whether the manual is a single multilingual guide or a separate guide in each language is up to the manufacturer. Hard copy user manual must be supplied with the product. In accordance with the customs union legislation, a foreign manufacturer must have a local representative company, an applicant, on the territory of the customs union CU to issue the certificate declaration. This means that an applicant for you can be your customer, distributor, or official representative company in CU. If changes and modifications take place, you should inform the certification body to assume whether new approval should be issued or not. If any changes are to be added to the product, the new approval is needed. But if you issue the approval to TRCU LVD and decide to change the color, as an example, of the product, there's no need in additional approval. Everything is individual. Now let's go over the certification requirements. In-country testing required. CB test reports with CB certificate. CE EMC report. Application form, technical description, user manual in Russian language, draft label with necessary marking requirements. ISO 9001 certificate, report of factory inspection. TRCU authorized factory inspection report. Other requirements. Local representative, lead time 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the complexity of your device. Validity 1 to 5 years. Responsibility provide copies of the TRCU Certificate of Conformity when products are imported into Russia. Yearly inspection. Family model grouping allowed. Product modification. Any addition to the product requires new approval. Minor changes do not require, such as color change. No renewal process under TRCU certification system. Non-compliance. Import is not allowed. Penalty in case of sale. 1 to 2 samples are needed for testing. Russian is the most widely used language, but for shipments to Kazakhstan or Belarus, a manual translated into the respective local languages must be included. There is a strict market surveillance to confirm that the requirements are being met. Whether the manual is a single multilingual guide or a separate guide in each language is up to the manufacturer. A hard copy user manual must be supplied with the product. Must use TRCU authorized factory inspector. Vista can provide the TRCU factory inspection in various regions. Overall, CU inspection process is similar to CIG 023 inspection process. However, CU certification body will not accept the CIG 023 report for TR-CU approval. In accordance with CU regulation, a factory inspection should be executed and FI report should be issued by a certification body accredited in CU Custom Union only, in Russian language or national language for Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan. It's law and our company always follows it. Additionally, we request the following authority to give us some explanation regarding CIG 023 acceptance. EEPCA, the European Electrical Products Certification Association, and Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russian Federation. In the end, they confirmed that there is no legal way to accept CIG 023 FI report for CUTR certification procedure because none of any agreements between EEPCA and CU for factory inspection rules. You can find to get acquainted with letter from EEPCA, the European Electrical Products Certification Association, and letter from the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russian Federation, where they answer that FI is obligatory provided by CU inspector. In accordance with the Custom Union legislation, a foreign manufacturer must have a local representative company, an applicant, on the territory of the Customs Union CU to issue the certificate declaration. This means that an applicant for you can be your customer, distributor, or official representative company in CU. Longest lead time I have seen is roughly 8 weeks. TR-CU EU approval is valid for terms of 1, 3, or 5 years, with the terms chosen by the manufacturer. Recommended to choose 5 years as the TR-CU approval term unless the product is expected to go through technical modifications in the near future. Annual maintenance inspection, or so-called inspection control, in case of applying for more than 1 year certification, it assumes that certification body which issued the COC needs to confirm that the product is still produced at the same quality. It can be done through the retesting or reviewing of quality management systems documents. In some cases, the certification body can initiate a production site audit during AMI. Family model grouping is allowed. If changes and modifications take place, you should inform the certification body to assume whether new approval should be issued or not. Customs Union certification system does not assume the renewal procedure. This means that the certification process must be repeated, including tests, production site audits if required. After all the procedures are done, you will receive a new approval document. Now let's discuss labeling and marking. Marking requirements. The size must be at least 5 mm. The mark can be placed in any way that provides clear visibility during the entire service life, shelf life of the product. A single mark is applied to each unit of production, packaging, or accompanying documentation, manual, or brochure. The EAC image should be monochrome and contrast with the color of the surface on which it is applied. Markings, signs, and inscriptions that can be misleading are not allowed. Other conformity marks on the products should not impair the visibility, clarity, and readability of the EAC mark. Here is some further information about labeling. A single sign of circulation indicates that the products marked by them have passed all the established technical regulations of the Eurasian Economic Union, technical regulations, Customs Union, procedures for assessing conforming compliance, and meeting the requirements of all technical regulations of the Eurasian Economic Union that apply to this product's technical regulations of the Customs Union. Marking with a single circulation mark is carried out before release of the product into circulation on market of the Eurasian Economic Union. The procedure for applying the mark, manufacturers, authorized persons, importers, suppliers of products have the right to affix the mark. If the products have passed all the established relevant technical regulations of the Eurasian Economic Union, technical regulations of the Customs Union, procedures for assessing compliance in the territory of any of the states members of the Eurasian Economic Union, which is confirmed by the documents provided for relevant forms of conformity assessment in the Eurasian Economic Union. So this means the EAC mark cannot be placed on the product until the requirements of all applicable EAEU technical regulations are met and COC and DOCs issued. And here on the left we have an example of a DOC form, and on the right an example of the COC form. Now that we have finished the overview of EAC, covering EEC's Eurasian Commissions, EMC Safety, and ROHS. Now let's look to FAC, Federal Commissions Agency, which covers telecom and radio. FAC/Telecom Certification and Declaration System is part of the Russian national regulation, so it's on the national level. FAC regulation is applicable on Russian territory only for selling and operating of telecommunication equipment. FAC regulations has nothing to do with the EA, EU, CUTR, Safety and EMC, or any other regulations. Almost all the products with RF modules and wired telecommunications products are subjected to Russian telecom approval. Common telecom network, telecommunications network used for commercial purposes to transfer data. It can be wirelessly connected to CTN. Examples are GSM, CDMA, UMTS, LTE, Wi-Fi, and so forth. It can be physically connected to CTN via wires. Examples are PSTN phones, fax machines, routers, servers, VoIPs, equipment, and so forth. What is FAC? The Federal Communication Agency is responsible for providing public services, the management of state property, and law enforcement functions in the field of communications and information. All equipment that connects either directly or indirectly to the public telecom network, or any equipment or software used to provide a telecom service, should be approved by FAC. Voluntary approval, no penalty for violation, no product marking required, no limitation to import, clear customs and sales without telecom approval. Consumers, corporations, and buyers do not recognize, purchase, or use non-FAC approved equipment. Other restrictions when operating non-FAC approved devices. FAC is a Russian national authority, and FAC approvals are a national level system. It is not recognized in any other EAEU territory. Ensuring the implementation of interstate and federal programs in the field of communication and information. Provision of public importance of service in the field of communication and information to the public on the condition set by federal law, including providing in the prescribed manner of distribution and proper use of radio frequency, RF channels, and civil and numbering resources. Conformity assessment in the field of communications and information. Telecom law established if any kind of equipment or software or service is used in public telecom networks, even power supply, battery, optic cords, billing soft, or any kind of service equipment, it should be approved and reported in FAC Register Telecom Systems by Federal Agency of Communications, FAC. Even a battery which is installed inside a telecom equipment should be approved by FAC in telecom system. In this case, it is considered as telecom equipment. If equipment is not approved, it means telecom providers cannot get telecom license for commercial activity. End users cannot get technical support if they use non-approved equipment. Every distributor and seller prefers to sell telecom equipment or goods approved by FAC. So here we have an overview of the FAC approval schemes. Certification of Conformity, COC, and Declaration of Conformity, DOC. Here is a diagram of the FAC approval process to help you determine if certification is mandatory for the equipment based on product type, electrical parameters, HS code, radio standards, telecom standards that are applicable. FAC DOC process consists of samples, testing, documents, product specs, descriptions, local Russian representative, etc. FAC COC processes consist of processes such as QMS audit, samples, testing, documents, product specs, descriptions, local rep, annual QMS inspection or testing. Here is a diagram of the FAC approval process to help you determine if certification is mandatory for your equipment based on its product type, electrical parameters, HS code, and applicable radio standards and telecom standards. FAC DOC processes consist of samples, testing, documents, product specs, descriptions, local Russian representative, and etc. FAC COC process consists of processes such as QMS, audit, samples, testing, docs, product specs, descriptions, local rep, annual QMS inspections or testing. Here is the FAC regulated product scope. Under Declaration of Conformity are products like antennas, wireless phones, satellite systems, cables, office, PBX, mobile phones, modems, network equipment, radio terminal equipment, data transmission systems, television equipment, fax machines, power supplies. Under certification of conformity, we have devices such as switches, wireless access equipment, radio broadcasting equipment, radio modem, transmission systems, data transmission systems, cellular mobile communications, satellite systems, network access tools, office, PABX, telecom terminal equipment. Here we have the FAC DOC process. We begin with submission of application documentation and test reports, then preparing FAC recognized reports and draft DOC. Application for FAC registration, DOC registration, or corrective actions required. It is possible to issue new CE reports according to FAC telecom requirements based on your existing ones without retesting if they find all necessary technical information in your test reports and documentation. So the first two blocks can take about 2 weeks. FAC has a lead time of 2 weeks. The last block takes another week. If the application registration is refused, then updated documents or declaration draft will have to be started over. This is not a common occurrence. Now let's review FAC's declaration requirements. Testing generally not required. Samples. QMS audit. Application forms. Technical description. Other documentation. Other requirements. Local representative. Lead time 4 weeks, but this depends on the complexity of your device. Validity. No expiration, though recommended a renewal every 5 years. Module approval allowed. Family model grouping not allowed. Product modification. Any addition to products required new approval. Minor changes do not require new approvals, such as color change. Labeling. No special marking or label. Noncompliance can incur penalties in case of sale and usage. Some projects take 6 or more weeks. Validity. FAC DOC is unlimited, but it is a responsibility of the applicant. You can choose the validity that is relevant to the used product life of the model you apply for approval. We recommend 5 years. Module approval. Manufacturer can approve a telecom built-in module or an end-user device. It doesn't matter legally. It depends on manufacturing's choice only, but to approve an end-user device should be a better way. If a manufacturer approves only a module, in this case, the one has to provide some legal and design information to many officials it partners, for example, importer, customs clearance officer, etc., to the end-user device, including the module which has been completely approved. Sometimes it may be difficult. We can offer a discount to register the declaration if some families include the identical module. If we speak about telecom approval, then radio module can be approved, but you need to add information about approval document for a built-in to the end device operation manual. Local rep not required for FAC COC. I have seen some projects take up to 16 weeks. Family model grouping is not allowed. Only single models should be specified on FAC telecom declaration. No series, no family, no similar models in FAC declarations. If changes modifications take place, you should inform certification body to assume whether new approval should be issued or not. Now here's a quick overview of FAC's COC process. In the beginning, we start with submission of application documents and test samples. Then we move on to functionality testing and FSS investigative testing. Then to registration of certification of conformity with FAC. Then finally, we get the issuance of certification of conformity. Investigative testing, if applicable, is for devices using encryption and cryptography. The whole process can take 3 to 4 months. but not likely to be refused the issuance of certificate of conformity. Now let's take a look at the FAC certification requirements. Requirements. In-country testing required. Samples. QMS audit. Application forms. Technical descriptions. Other documentation. Other requirements. Local representative optional. Lead time 8 to 10 weeks depending on the complexity of the device. Validity. 3 years at most. Module approval allowed. Responsibilities. Annual inspection. Family model grouping allowed. Product modification. Any additional modification to product requires a new approval. Minor changes do not require such approval, like color change. Labeling. No special marking or label. Noncompliance can incur penalties in case of sale or usage. Local representative not required for FAC COC. I have seen some projects take up to 16 weeks. Module approval. Manufacturer can approve a telecom built-in module or an end-user device. It doesn't matter legally. Depends on manufacturer's choice only. But to approve an end-user device should be a better way. If a manufacturer approves only a module, in this case, the one has to approve some legal and design information to many officials, its partners, for example, importer, customs clearance office, etc., that the end user device includes the module which has been completely approved. Sometimes it may be difficult. We can offer a discount to register the declaration in some families including the identical module. If we speak about telecom approval, then a radio module can be approved, but you need to add additional information about approval documents for a built-in module to the end device operational manual. Family model grouping is allowed. If changes/modifications take place, you should inform certification body to assume whether new approvals should be issued or not. Penalties. No administrative responsibilities for violation. Yes, for manufacturers and their representatives, but the changes are in process. Here are two examples of the FAC, DOC, and COC. The DOC is on the left side, and the COC is on the right side. We have now just completed FAC, Federal Communication Agency, which covers telecom and radio. Now, let's move on to FSS, Federal Security Services, which covers cryptographic functionality. What is FSS/FSB? The Federal Security Service, FSS, is the principal security agency of Russia. Its main responsibilities include counterintelligence, internal and border security, counterterrorism, and surveillance. All products that are capable of encryption need to be approved in the Federal Security Service. The FSS notification is a formal statement of permission to use the means of cryptography encryption within a device in Russia. The FSS notification is a mandatory document which is required to be provided during the customs clearance process in Russia. The FSS notification for each exact model must be registered only once. Other importers can use the notification without additional permission from the original notification holder. There are no special national markings for the FSS notification. All products that are capable of encryption need to be approved in the Federal Security Services, FSS, or sometimes called FSB, in order to be successfully imported to the customs union. A special document that confirms the product has the ability to transfer data through crypto algorithms can be imported is called FSS notification or FSB notification. Russian FSS notification, Federal Security Service notification, is obligatory for devices which use OS or any other type of software. FSB is for Wi-Fi and FSB for Bluetooth, and as a means of cryptography according to the section 2.19 of the Uniform Inventory, to which ban or restriction on import or export by member states of the custom union within the Eurasian Economic Community in trade with the third countries are applied. The FSS notification is necessary for various computers and computing equipment with encryption function cryptography. Now let's go over the FSS approval process diagram to help you determine if certification is mandatory for the equipment based on product type, electrical parameters, HS code, and applicable radio standards and telecom standards. FSS process requires POA documents and other forms of information like product description and specs. Now let's take a look at the diagram. Does your device have encryption or cryptographic algorithms? No, product is exempt from FSS. But if so, is certification required? Yes. FSS process, FSS issued. Now let's look at FSS regulated product scope. Printers, photocopiers, and fax machines and their electronic modules which have cryptographic functions. Devices of computers with the functions of encryption, electronic modules and parts of handheld machines that have encryption, base stations that have cryptographic functions, telecommunications equipment and its parts with the functions of encryption, equipment for broadcasting or television and its parts with the functions of encryption, radio navigation receivers, remote control equipment and parts thereof with encryption, electronic integrated circuits, memory devices that have encryption functions or contain cryptographic means, access equipment to the information and communication network, internet and television receivers with the communication function with encryption. Exemptions. Previously, the main defining characteristics that determine whether it is necessary to get FSS approval or not was the ability of the device to encrypt the data. Now we should also take into consideration means of encryption, which means that if the product is capable of encryption but cannot be classified as one of the means from the list, the FSS notification is not required. If exempt, then the FSS exemption letter will be issued that can be used as an evidence while importing the goods. Now here on the right we have an example of an FSS notification. Local representative is required. Lead time 4 weeks depending on the complexity of your device. Validity does not expire. Family model grouping allowed. Non-compliance. Import is not allowed. Now let's review the three major conformity assessment authorities. EAC, EEC, Eurasian Commission, which covers EMC, safety, and ROHS. Second is FAC, Federal Communication Agency, covering telecom and radio. And finally, FSS, Federal Security Services, which covers cryptographic functionality. The Eurasian Economic Commission, Eurasian Customs Union Commission formally, publishes the technical regulations listing the standards applicable for regulations and certification and declaration schemes to approve equipment and goods. EAC, CU, TR-CU are common names for Russian Eurasian conformity. FAC /telecom certification and declaration system is a part of the Russian national regulation, so it's on the national level. FAC regulation is applicable on Russian territory only for the selling and operation of telecom equipment. FAC regulation has nothing to do with EAEU, CUTR, safety and EMC, or any other regulations. FSS and FSB notification is a notification from the manufacturer for devices with encryption and cryptographic functionality. Now we must not forget GOST approval and GOSTR marking, which was withdrawn in February of 2013 but still exists for products not covered under TR. such as batteries, as well as radio frequency conclusion, RFC, for high frequency radio frequency devices. We're going to take a quick glance at the GOSTR System of Certification Overview. There are two types of certification: GOSTR Declaration of Conformity and GOSTR Certification of Conformity. Both GOSTR Certification and GOSTR Declaration are documents confirming that the product meets the requirements of the national GOST, interstate, and international standards, ISO, IEC, and etc. Technical specifications. GOSTR systems was established by the decree of the government of the Russian Federation number 982 dated December 1st, 2009. List of goods still covered by GOSTR system include medical devices, lithium-ion batteries, high-voltage equipment, and many others that are slowly being phased out because they are now covered under EU technical regulations. Here is a quick run-through of the radio frequency conclusion. RFC statements, also known as radio frequency conclusion, which is done by the Government Radio Frequency Center, is a document required for the importation of radio electronic high-frequency devices, HFD, and their components to the Russian Federation. The statement confirms that the product compliance with the specifications and operating conditions are approved by the State Commission for Radio Frequency, SCRF, or GKRCH. RFC statements are required for registration of the license of the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Full list of restricted products can be found in Annex Number 1 to the Decision Number 30, ECE, College of 21.4.2015. Section 2.16. RFC conclusions are mandatory for obtaining import licenses for radio devices such as RFID in frequency range of 866 to 868 MHz, SRD radio products, automotive radars in the frequency of 76 to 77 GHz, DECT devices in the frequency range of 1880 to 1900 MHz, antennas, microphones, or other radio equipment which fell into the restricted list. Radio Frequency Center statement is issued in favor of a specific importer and will contain info about the name and model of the product plus trademark if available. After receiving radio frequency enter approval, your product is added to the Rumsticter database and stays there for 10 years without the need for additional testing. To obtain a statement with a permit to import a certain type of product, it is required to provide a specific list of information about the radio frequency characteristics of the product, especially if the imported goods are not included in the REM and HFD list approved by SCRF. It may be required to provide information such as the class of emission, the peak frequency deviation, the relative level of spurious emission, the spectral density, and other applicable information. Obtaining the RFC conclusion is no longer a simple paperwork process. Only test reports issued by Russia's RFC will now be accepted, and in-country testing is therefore required, since GKRCH reports issued by an accredited lab are no longer tolerated. To import to Russia satellite stations radio relay equipment, some types of SRD and RFIDs equipment, specific radio products, it is necessary to conduct a local laboratory test. Rumsticter is authorized to keep the register of radio electronic means, REM, and high frequency devices, HFD, emitted for import to the territory of the Russian Federation. List of products that do not require the Minpromptor license is free to import can be found in Appendix number 15 to the decision of the Board, the Eurasian Economic Commission of April 21, 2015. Import info about RFC statement. Lead time for RFC statement is about 30 days after test performed. Mandatory sample tests. Samples may be legally imported and will require a temporary import permit for customs. Holder of RFC statement could be only local company or representative. 2.16 radio devices or high-frequency civil devices, including built-in or are part of other goods extracted from the decision of the Board of the Eurasian Economic Commission number 30 of April 21st, 2015 non-tariff regulations which subject to the Russian Minpromptor license or FSB notification. Thank you for listening. This concludes our webinar on Russia and part of the EU countries like Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan, market access, certification, and approvals for electrical equipment and wireless products. I hope this webinar was helpful for you in determining which equipment authorization procedure applies to your device and what the process for approval and certification is like, as well as what the requirements may be applicable. Compliance with the technical requirements of the EAC, FAC, FSS/FSB is required for all radio and telecom products to ensure that any wireless equipment does not degrade performance or cause interference with the existing network to which it is connected, provides suitable safety to the end user, and ensures RF emissions comply with the relevant standards. All electrical equipment and devices require approval and testing prior to the distribution or placement on the market. Vista Compliance Lab specializes in certification approvals and compliance testing for electrical and radio frequency devices and is a 17025 accredited EMC/RF compliance test lab and 17065 accredited product certification body. We are a telecommunications certification body in the US, Canada, EU, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan, and we provide certification approvals for all product types in countries all over the world. If you would like to stay in touch with regulatory updates, follow us online. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on the information presented today or any other general inquiries, you can reach us at any time at info@visa-compliance.com. Thank you for your time and please have a wonderful day.